Welcome to the Mara Access Safety Training Series. The topic of this training is pallet jack safety. This material was prepared under a Consultation Education and Training grant awarded by MIOSHA, the Michigan Occupational Safety and Health Administration. MIOSHA is part of the Michigan Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs. Points of views or opinions stated in this document do not necessarily reflect the view or policies of LARA. The objectives of pallet jack safety training are pallet jack safety overview, types of pallet jacks, safe operations, avoiding accidents, accident and incident reporting, and a review or quiz. Pallet jacks aren't as dangerous as forklifts. However, they can cause serious injuries and damage materials and structures. Pallet jacks help workers safely handle heavy loads. Trying to move heavy material without a pallet jack could result in even more serious injuries. If a pallet jack is not used safely, employees can be injured. There are various types of hand pallet jacks used in the workplace. One is a manual hydraulic pallet jack, which is a jack steered by a tiller lever, which is also a pump handle for raising the jack. A small handle in the tiller releases the hydraulic fluid, causing the forks to lower. Front wheels are mounted on levers attached to linkages going to levers which are attached to the jack cylinder. Electric pallet jacks, often called pallet trucks, are designed for lifting and transporting palletized materials over relatively short distances. Sometimes these units are also called walkies, single or double pallet jacks, or power jacks. Some powered pallet jacks contain a platform for the operator to stand on while moving pallets. Pallet jacks come in many different types and styles and are vital to daily operations in today's workplaces. Even though they seem simple to use, they can be very dangerous when used by an untrained operator or in an unsafe manner. While pallet jacks are used to move palletized products from one area to another with relative ease, they're also used in warehouses, manufacturing plants, and storage facilities. Pallet jacks are some of the most common and important pieces of equipment in the material handling industry. A pallet jack's front wheels are mounted inside of the forks. As the hydraulic jack is raised, the forks are separated vertically from the front wheels. That forces the load upward until it clears the floor. The pallet is only lifted enough to clear the floor for subsequent travel. Operators generally use a throttle and a handle to move forward or in reverse. The steering is done by swinging the handle in the intended direction. To stop the machine, operators use plugging, which allows them to turn a throttle from forward to reverse or vice versa to slow and stop the machine. To apply the brakes, the operator must allow the handle to spring back to the upright position or hold it down to the lowest position. This program discusses how to safely operate electric-powered pallet jacks so operators can deliver their loads while avoiding injury and property damage. Electric pallet jacks are motorized units used to allow lifting and moving of heavier and stacked pallets. Some are self-propelled, and they minimize the amount of physical operator effort, and they also reduce the risk of injury. Each different type of pallet jack has a maximum load standard. There are two categories of pallet jacks. One is a walk-behind type of a pallet jack, and other jacks are equipped with an operator platform. Pallet jack safety and injury prevention. There are two factors to prevent injuries when using a pallet jack. First, you must follow clear safety rules, and also you must have hands-on training before operating the equipment. Pallet jacks may look like simple devices and do not appear to require training. It's imperative that you read and follow all the safety rules in the manual, and never operate a pallet jack unless you have been properly trained. And before moving loads, you must first demonstrate safe operating procedures with an electric or manual pallet jack. It's important to make sure that you're following all safety rules when operating a pallet jack. Again, these units should not be operated unless you have been properly trained. For example, if a load tips over, it could possibly fall on an employee, resulting in contusions, abrasions, strains, and sprains. Or back strain can occur from adjusting loads. There could be injuries from running over or into other employees, and bodily harm from impacts or from losing control on inclines. Abrasions, contusions, or fractures can occur from impacting walls or columns. And if a load is dropped, a foot may be crushed if a pallet jack runs over someone's feet. There could also be strain or dislocation of a shoulder due to forceful pulling of a pallet jack. There also can be strains from moving a loaded pallet jack. It is your responsibility as the pallet jack operator to make sure you are using it in the correct manner to ensure your safety and the safety of the other people in the workplace. Familiarize yourself with the controls before using the unit and make sure the controls are undamaged and responsive. When using a pallet jack, make sure you plan your journey before jumping straight into using the pallet jack to reach your destination. And never carry riders or ride the equipment yourself. No horseplay. It can cause serious injury. When operating a pallet jack, make sure that you are wearing proper personal protective equipment and that you are maintaining proper body positioning. Always wear proper footwear protection and gloves when operating a unit. And make sure you have a secure grip on the load, especially if the pallet jack has worn grips. Never place your feet under a pallet jack. And feet, hands, or any other body part should never be placed underneath the pallet jack either. Make sure you're using proper lifting techniques when you're loading, unloading, and operating the pallet jack. And be wary of pinch points to avoid injuries to your hand. Before operating a pallet jack, it's very important that you follow a pre-operational inspection. Before use, take a good look all around your pallet jack vehicle. Remove any items that may have been left on the jack, such as tools, drinks, or other debris. During the inspection, look for any fluid leaks, cracked or broken parts, or anything that looks out of place. Pay special attention to the wheels, tires, and forks. Make sure that the load backrest extension and other safety devices are attached and in good working condition. This includes all warning labels, which must be in place and legible. You also want to test all control functions for proper operation. Raise and lower the forks. Test the forward and reverse controls. Make sure the horn is working. Make sure the braking controls and an emergency reverse button located on the T-bar are working as well. During the pre-operational inspection, verify the presence of the vehicle's data plate and make sure it is legible. The data plate provides important information such as the make and model of the vehicle and its maximum capacity. Other information that is specific to your make and model of the pallet truck can be found in the operator's manual, which must remain with the vehicle at all times. Make sure you take a look at the wheels of the pallet jack and ensure that they are not worn out and have no cracks. This will prevent poor handling and reduce the risk of an unstable load. If your pre-inspection reveals any problems or defects with the truck, do not use it. Mark the vehicle out of service and report the situation to your supervisor. Driving and handling characteristics. Operating a pallet jack safely requires an awareness of its unique driving and handling characteristics. These vehicles operate quite differently from automobiles or other types of powered and industrial trucks. Pallet jacks can be driven with the load leading or trailing. If you're driving with the load trailing, the steering wheels are located at the front of the wheel. This allows the truck to turn sharply, cutting corners abruptly. When this is the case, a wide turn is required to avoid collisions. When operating with the forks leading, the steering wheels are in the back of the truck. This allows sharp turning to either side. However, the rear end will now swing wide to the outside of the turn. When this is the case, keeping the truck tight to the inside of the turn is required to avoid collisions. Because a pallet truck can accelerate and turn abruptly, you should avoid sudden and extreme movements. Make a point to start, stop, turn, and brake in a smooth, controlled manner. This includes coming to a complete stop before changing direction. Smooth, careful operation is required to avoid property damage and injury when operating powered pallet jack. A common safety feature found on many pallet trucks is the reverse switch, which is found on the T-bar. This safety device helps protect operators from being pinned between the truck and a solid object. When pressure is applied to the reverse switch, the truck will reverse direction and move away from the operator. The T-bar handle also acts as an emergency brake. When the handle is moved to a complete vertical or horizontal position, the truck will stop moving. This stops the truck in the event of the operator losing grip on the handle or falls to the ground. Similar to using an electric pallet jack, a manual pallet jack also requires skills. When using a manual pallet jack, remember these rules. Raise the forks by pushing the actuating lever down and pumping the handle. You should use both hands when jacking up a manual pallet jack to prevent muscle strain. The only time the handle is down is to jack the pallet or to lift the load. Put the actuating lever in a neutral or middle position to move a load on a manual jack. This position disengages the lifting mechanism and frees the handle from hydraulic resistance, but keeps the forks raised. When the lever is released, it will automatically return to the neutral position. Whether you're using an electric pallet jack or a manual pallet jack, it's important that you lift loads safely. When lifting a load, first make sure it is within the truck's capacity. If you aren't sure about the weight of a load, don't hesitate to ask for assistance. Before moving a load, it must be centered on a pallet and stable. Off-center loads or loads that are unstable may fall and cause serious injury. These types of loads must be reconfigured so they are centered on the pallet, and they may need to be secured before moving. Also, before lifting a pallet, make sure both forks are completely under the pallet and the pallet is resting against the back stop. Lifting a load with the forks partially under the pallet can cause damage to pallet and spill the load. Understand that forks are raised using a scissor-like action that lowers the load-bearing wheels and raises the fork. If these wheels contact the lower support board of the pallet while lifting, the pallet can be torn apart and cause injury. Again, make sure you center the forks evenly under the load to maintain good balance and ensure stability of the load. Make sure the forks are positioned completely under the pallet. Maintain a clearance of about 1 inch between the floor and the pallet. The load is much more stable if it's kept close to the floor. Make sure you practice safe maneuvering when using a pallet jack. Use the neutral position when moving loads. This reduces operator fatigue. Push if you safely can, but pulling allows for increased maneuverability and better control of the load. If pulling the pallet jack, make sure it is in the neutral position to reduce fatigue. Do not turn the handle too fast. This can cause the load to shift and fall. Watch for clearances on both sides of the aisle. Operate at a controllable speed. Hand pallet jacks do not have brakes, so make sure you allow plenty of room to stop. Do not carry riders on the hand pallet jack, and be aware of other people and forklifts in the vicinity. When using a pallet jack, should you push or pull? Pushing allows better maneuverability, but pulling puts strain on the back, so always try to push the load instead if you can. When pushing the load, it keeps your back and spine straight. You're also using the stronger and larger leg muscles and bones. If you're pulling the load, you're using your back more than your legs to move the load, and bending creates a curvature in your spine, making you much more susceptible to back injuries. Also, a pallet jack is not designed to be pulled by one or both arms. Only exception to this is if you're making small adjustments in the positioning of the load while standing erect. Before traveling with a load, make sure you know where you're going. Inspect your route for obstructions or hazards before proceeding with the pallet truck. Do not raise or lower the load while in motion. This can affect the ability of the truck and load as well as damage the floor and pallet should the load begin scraping across the floor while still in motion. Before moving, lift the load a few feet off the floor and then proceed to your destination. When placing a load down, come to a complete stop before lowering the pallet. It is difficult to use a pallet jack when you're working on a slope, especially when the load is heavy. Pallet jacks are designed for smooth surfaces. They're difficult to maneuver on uneven surfaces or in areas with debris. Avoid inclines if at all possible. Always be uphill of the load on an incline. If you absolutely must use an incline, be extra careful. Always push when going down an incline and never stand downhill of a loaded pallet jack going down a ramp. When you have completed your task using your pallet truck, park the pallet jack in a level place with the forks lowered. When parking your pallet truck, only park in approved areas. Never park in front of an emergency equipment, in aisleways, or in front of exits, fire extinguishers, electric panels, etc. Keep the jack out of a traffic area to avoid a tripping hazard. And when parking any type of powered industrial truck, including a pallet truck, you must lower your forks. Place the vehicle in neutral, apply the parking brake. Do not leave a pallet jack unattended or elevated. Many pallet trucks return to neutral and automatically apply the brake when T-bar controls are released. Check your operator's manual if you're unsure of this function on your unit. Put your pallet jack safely away in a predetermined storage location when it is not in use with the handle raised and locked. Always let your pallet jack fork down when stocking product or anytime the pallet jack is left unattended. Again, keep the pallet jack out of a traffic area to avoid a tripping hazard. And if you're going to be out of sight from your truck or more than 25 feet away, you must also remove the key if it has one, or disconnect the battery connector to prevent unauthorized use. When using your pallet jack in the area of loading docks, remember, always be alert. Stay away from the edge of the dock. Before entering any trailer with a powered pallet jack, you must make sure the trailer's brakes are set and its wheels are chocked. Inspect all bridge plates and dock boards before use. They must be properly secured to the dock and trailer, be in good condition, and be of sufficient capacity before crossing. If the trailer is not supported by a cab, then a jack stand must be used to support the trailer. A trailer's landing gear alone is not enough. Inspect the flooring of any trailer or rail car for defects such as cracks, holes, rotten wood, or other weaknesses. If you are unloading or loading a truck at a dock, enter or exit the truck squarely. Park the pallet truck outside of traffic areas in a safe, level place with the forks lowered. And for manual trucks, the handle should be left in the up position to eliminate a tripping hazard. Make sure pallets are stored in a dry place. Before using a pallet for lifting or moving a load, inspect the pallet for loose or rotting sections. Make sure it is in good condition and can safely support the load you are lifting or moving. Ensure that no leakage from the previous or current load has weakened the structure of the pallet. Make sure you stabilize the load on the pallet. Avoiding incidents involving pedestrians and other vehicles. When approaching an intersection, blind corners, or alleyways, stop and sound your horn. This will alert other workers and other vehicle operators of your presence. Always remember that pedestrians have the right of way. When following other trucks, maintain a 3-truck distance between your units. This allows room to maneuver and stop if needed. Following too closely is a sign of carelessness and can quickly lead to an incident. Before moving your pallet truck, make sure the area is clear of personnel and be sure to look behind you before backing up. Raising and lowering the forks create a hazard for pedestrians as well. Not only can a foot be easily crushed when the forks are lowered, the scissor action created by raising or lowering the load wheels creates a dangerous pinch point that must be avoided. Never drive a pallet truck directly toward a pedestrian who is standing in front of a solid object, such as a wall or bench. Protecting yourself and others from injury. When operating a rider truck, be sure to keep your hands and feet inside the operating area. Allowing hands and feet to protrude beyond the frame of the truck can lead to serious injury as the truck passes near fixed objects or other vehicles. Operators should never leave the rider's platform until the truck has come to a complete stop. Stepping off too soon can lead to twisted ankles, knees, or other injuries. No matter what type of pallet truck you operate, make sure your hands and feet are free of oil, grease, and other slippery substances. As an operator, it is your responsibility to prohibit any riders from your truck. While using a pallet jack, if an accident or incident occurs, make sure you report this to your supervisor immediately. Report all accidents that include injuries to persons, body parts, property damage, and near-miss incidents. Follow your employee accident reporting policy and also make sure that you complete your employer's accident report form. Thank you for completing this training. If you have questions regarding pallet jack safety, you may contact Gloria McMullen, Services Director at Morrow. Phone number area code 517-853-3093 or through email at gmcmullen@morrow.com. miosha.org. You can also visit the MIOSHA website at www.michigan.gov MIOSHA Publications, where additional information may be available, or contact the Consultation Education and Training Division of MIOSHA at 517 area code 322-1809.